It's so hard. Was it the first term test or second term test? Okay, interesting. One more minute and we are going to start. So I hope all of you did this question last class itself. Right in the last class, we had already done this and we are running out of time to discuss. Yes, so it's 6 4 1 minute. Okay, let's begin. So in this question, last week we discussed the data types for each fields, as well as last week we discussed the primary key. Okay. So tell me, what are the different data types we have when we talk about spreadsheet? So database. Because you learn database in two lessons. So you learn data types in two lessons. One is in programming lesson, you learn about data types, and you learn data types even the database lesson. Okay. There is only one or two which are common, but majority of the data types are changing or varying from here to there. So what I'm asking from you all are, what are the data types we have in a spreadsheet, in a database software? What are the different data types we have? Possible data types we have. So what are those data types we have? Actually, you can even see the screen. I have already written it last week. Okay. So if you all even see here, you all know the different data types we have in database are text, numeric, currency, date, time, boolean. So based on that, last week we figured out the answer for the first question. And for the second question regarding this primary key, tell me, normally if you take the primary key, this will give you what of the table? It is which part of the table? Primary key is normally used to define what? Using the primary key, we can figure out what? Exactly. Using a primary key, we can figure out the unique field. Okay, the unique field you can what do you call figure out using primary key. So normally in every table there'll be a specific field. Okay, fields are like the column names, right? So there'll be a specific field that's going to be unique, and that's going to be the primary key. So that's where we stopped last week. Today we are going to learn about something called as. Today we are going to discuss a question which contains a part called as a foreign key. Okay, primary key, it is a unique field of that table. No, foreign key is where, okay, imagine the word foreign. Now, for example, let's take President of Sri Lanka. I don't know his name, sorry. Okay, let's take, we have a President of Sri Lanka. Okay. Now, if this President of Sri Lanka is there in our country, let's say his name is Amal. Ah, is it Ranil? Okay, fine. Now I'm going to just call him Amal itself. Easy. Okay, let's say Amal is the President of Sri Lanka. Now, when Amal is in Sri Lanka, let's say Amal is in Sri Lanka, how will our people call him? Our people will be like, okay, this is the citizens in Sri Lanka will be calling us, okay, okay, the president is going on, the president is going on, the president is going. Yeah? If you look at the president, you will be like, okay, the president is going. But imagine if this was India. Okay, let's say now we are in India. Okay, if we are in India and if Amal is going here and there, will we tell our president is going, or will we tell foreign president is going? Will we tell our president is going in the road, or will we tell a foreign president is going? Our president or foreign president? Exactly. We'll be like, no, foreign president is going. Same thing in foreign key as well. But there are some fields, we have these primary keys, right? Now, for example, if I take in this table, the students table, I have the admission number last week we discussed as a primary key. Normally, if your primary key, okay, we learned the last week, the primary key is the admission number. The unique field is admission number. If your primary key is going to be there in another table, again, if your primary key is going to be there, reference in another table or used somewhere in another table, then in that table we call them as a foreign key. Now, for example, you can see, let's say this is Sri Lanka and let's say this is India. Okay, example. Now you can see the admission number is the primary key in the Sri Lanka table. Example. Okay, so you can look at admission number is, let's say, the president of students table. Now you can see when the admission number goes to the marks table. Now this is another country. Okay, like another country. So when he goes somewhere else, he will not become a primary key. Instead, he'll become what? He'll be called as what? What key? Foreign key. Is that clear? Okay. So keep in mind, if you want to figure out the foreign key, the easiest way is first figure out the primary key. Step number one is figure out the primary key. After you figure out the primary key, okay, after you figure out the primary key, second step what you're going to do is you're going to see other tables containing this value. Okay, other tables containing this field. Now we first of all figure out that admission number was the primary key. After we figure out admission number is a primary key, I'm going to go and check, okay, what are the other tables containing admission number? So look at the marks table and tell me, does the marks table have admission number? Yes, the marks table has admission number. So admission number field in the marks table, is it going to be a primary key or foreign key? The marks table, is this fellow going to be a primary key or a foreign key? Is admission number? This fellow. Exactly. He's a foreign key. So we can mention there the answer as the field name. So the field name is what? AD underscore number. Okay, AD underscore number in, and you will mention the table name as well. Always keep in mind, you should not just mention the field name. Along with the field name, you have to mention in which table as well. So he is a foreign key in the marks table. So admission number in marks table. In marks table. Okay. So foreign key is admission number in marks table. Is that clear, all of you? How many of you got that correct? Raise your hands, the participants. Let's check. This is last class work. So you can correct your answers which I wrote in the last class. How many of you got it correct? Admission number in marks table. Good, 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 good. Okay. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Okay. Next question. Sandun got 800 marks for third term exam. So there's a person called Sandun. It seems he has got 800 marks. It seems for the third term exam. It looks a bit too much, but anyway, it's fine. Okay, they're talking about total marks here. Okay, fine. When enter this to database, broken English again. So when you're entering this to the database, what are the tables that has to be updated? First thing, let's go to the students table and tell, look at the students table and tell, is there a student called Sandun that's existing in our database? Is there a student called Sandun that is existing in our database? Yes or no? Is there a student called Sandun existing? Yes, there is. You can see here the second student is there, right? That is Sanun. He is a student that's existing in our database. Now, based on that, tell me, should I update the students table? Is it necessary to update the students table? Yes or no? No, it is not necessary. Okay, we don't have to update the students table. Now come for the marks table. Okay, tell me, should I update the marks table to show that Sanun got 800 marks for the third term exam? Yes, I have to include a new record saying that, okay, this is a student and this is the marks he got killer. I had to actually mention that. Okay, so I had to mention that. So I'm going to mention here, okay, I'm going to mention here which table should be updated. I'm going to mention there as marks table. Okay, only the marks table has to get updated. Then how do you insert the updated record? Now you can see the marks table, the first record is regarding admission number. Okay, look at the students table and tell me what is Sanun's admission number. Yes. Sanun's admission number is 11151. So that's going to be the value in the first field. Second field, last week was we had an issue that we did not know exactly what that field is because they had mentioned earlier as index number, but there is no field called index number. So that's a bit confusing. And there is no proper sequence as well in which we can figure it out. You can see 101B3 and 102B3. This is, let's say, 101B1, 102B5, 103B5. Yes, it is not in a proper sequence, so it's a bit difficult to figure out what does that subject number field is. So I'm going to keep that as null. Okay, null means no value. The word null means there is no value. Okay, so normally keep in mind if there is specific data, you don't know what the value is going to be. Let's say there is specific data, we don't know what should we keep that value as. Now, for example, in our scenario, we know Sanun's admission number, so we can enter it here. But this field's value we don't know, right? So when you don't know the value of a field, always mark it as null. The reason why I'm saying null is because null doesn't have any data type. If you take this value called null, it doesn't come under any data types, right? So if the fields, let's say, so if the field was mentioned as the data type of that field was text, then no issues. If the field's data type was numeric, still no issues. If the field's data type was currency, still no issues. Because the word null, it can come under any data type. It is not going to be fixed under one data type. So always keep in mind, if you don't know the value, use the word null. So I'm going to mention here as null. Now, do we know the total marks Sandun got? Do we know the total marks Sandun got? Yes. Sarah, how do you know it's 101B1 exactly? It's not given in the question. And how did you guess it? Yeah, in admission number is fine. We know the admission number. I'm talking about the second field's value. Okay. Second field's value, we can't guess it. There is no any data there. But yeah, the total marks they have given in the question. What is the value of the total marks? It's going to be how much? What was his total marks? Exactly. He got 800 marks. So we know that as well. Do we know which term exam he got these marks for? Yes, it's the third term. Um, in terms of that, we can't exactly guess it because you can see here, if you take the student 11150, Meena, here the subject number is 101B3, and here the subject number is 102B3. Okay, and if you take 11151, is it repeating or 11152? Here is it, here it is 102B5, here is 103B5. So no, it's hard to actually figure out a connection. There is no relationship. If there was like a sequence which you can figure it out, okay. Even if you're guessing and writing, there should be a reason, like meaning of how you guess it. It should make sense. So unless of that, you can't just do it for the namesake. Okay. So how do you insert that? How you're going to mention that is very simple. You can mention it like this. First of all, you are mention the table name. So what is the name of the table we're going to update here? What is the name of the table that we're going to update here? Yes, we're going to update the marks table. So I'm going to mention that here. First of all, the marks table killer. So marks, and that's the exact table name, right? Marks table is marks table. And then I put arrowhead and mention the values that has to get updated. So in the marks table, the first field should have Sanun's admission number. So you can see Sanun's admission number is 11151. So I'm going to mention here the first value as 11151. Second value, I don't know. So I'm going to mention this as null. Third value is going to be the total marks he got. So I'm going to mention that as 800. And the last one is going to be the term he did this exam, so it's going to be 3, right? So when they ask you how do you to show the updated records, this is how you can show the updated record. The table name, arrowhead, first field's value, second field's value, third field's value, fourth field particular, all the fields value you have to mention here. So the values be in brackets. Yes, values should be in brackets. Is that clear, all of you? Got it up there? No need to draw a row. If you want, you can draw the row as well. In majority of the questions, they will give you this format. They'll give you this format called table name, arrowhead, field 1, comma, field 2, comma, field 3, killer. And they will tell you, write your answer in this with the below format, killer. So, majority of the times they'll ask you to write in this format, which I given here, rather than put in the table format. So in this question, you can use a table format as well. But if you use the table format, there are two things I need from you. One thing is the table's name has to be mentioned on top. And then the field name is not compulsory, but again, it should be in order. The first field should have the first box, the first cell should have the admission number. Second cell should have null. Third cell should have 800, and the last cell should have 3. This null is not a big deal, but there have to be 4 cells, and the first cell should be 11151, and the remaining 2 cells, the last 2 cells should be 803. Got it? But if they tell you do in the below format killer, then you have to make sure you follow the format. Huh? If they tell you follow in this format killer, or table slash dash field 1, field 2 format, then you can't jump. Okay, perfect. If there's any other questions, drop them in the chat, right? Briefly explain the terms, should be the terms, data duplication and data redundancy separately. Okay. The word duplicate, all of you. 2026 Ramsey. Okay, all of you know what do you mean by duplicate? No, duplicate means, tell me a synonym for duplicate. Let's say you and your friend has the same answer. It's like a duplicate answer. What will your parent come and your teacher come and tell you? Both of you all have copied. Ne? So now if they duplicate, it's like the same copy, like just the exact copy, they are somewhere else. Okay. So you can explain data duplication saying that data duplication is where the same record is being repeated. So let me mention here. This is where the same record is being repeated in a table. Okay. So if the same exact record is going to be repeated in a table, then you call that as a data duplication. So keep in mind the word same should be there. Okay, the same record and repeated. Okay, these two are the keywords. So as long as you use these two keywords, your answer is going to be correct. Okay. So these are the same record is being repeated in a table. Next, what is data redundancy? Let's see what are the answers you all wrote. What is data redundancy? No. What is data redundancy? Nope, nope, nope. I'll give you a hint. Imagine, okay, imagine your address is going to be stored. Okay, imagine your home address is going to be stored by your class teacher, your school principal, as well as your security guard. Now, how many people knows your address? Your class teacher, principal, security guard. How many people know your address now? Yes, imagine these 3 people knows your address. Okay. Now what you're doing is you're changing your house. Okay, you're changing your house, right? When you're changing your house, you quickly call your class teacher and tell, because there's some letters you get or something. Basically, you inform your class teacher, okay, I'm changing my house. You informed your class teacher. So what your class teacher did? So she has like a record book where she mentions this. She quickly goes and tell, oh, okay, this person has changed the house. She goes and marks the address. Fine. Okay. Now out of the 3 people, Will all three people have the same address at this moment? No. Principal and security guard might have one address, and let's say the what do you call, you have, your teacher has another address. This is what you mean by data redundancy. Data redundancy is where the same data is stored in different ways. Okay, the same data is stored in different formats in different tables, right? That's the part of data redundancy. So this is where the same data is stored different formats in different formats or ways in different tables. Okay. In one table, your address might be like this. In another table, your address might be like this. In another table, your address might be different. So if your table is going to be something like this is what we call as data redundancy. The same data being stored in multiple tables. Okay. Actually, you don't have to mention the word different ways, because if you are mentioning about different ways, that's called data inconsistency. You can directly mention this is where the same data is stored in multiple tables in simple. Okay. This is where the same data is stored in multiple tables. You can directly mention multiple tables. Now, multiple tables. Data redundancy, it can lead to something. Okay. I told you a while ago that word. Data redundancy can lead to what? Yes. This can lead to data inconsistency. Data inconsistency. Now, data inconsistency is where I told you that your principal will have one address, your class teacher might have one address, your security guard might have another address. This is what we mean by data inconsistency. That means the same data, okay, all three are storing your address only, but even though all three are storing your address, one fellow might have one address, another person might have a different address, and the third person might have a complete different address. That is what we call as data inconsistency. So redundancy is where same data is stored in multiple places, multiple tables or places both are same, and that can lead to data inconsistency. So data inconsistency is where the same data is there in different formats or in different ways in multiple tables. Tell me, I will clear about these three terms: data duplication, data redundancy, and data inconsistency. Are you all clear about all these three terms? Yes or no? In different formats, in different tables. Why do you cut the format word? Because now both the answers give the same meaning now. No. Data redundancy is where all three are storing your address. Now imagine the previous scenario. For example, let's say your class teacher, security guard, as well as your principal. All three are storing your address when you enter the school. Now is there data inconsistency? No. Why there is no data inconsistency? Because all three of them have the same address. If all three of them have the same address, it is not data inconsistency. Yeah? Imagine your principal as well as your class teacher as well as security guard. All three are storing an address. Same data is being stored in three different places. That is what you call as data redundancy. Inconsistency is where, okay, inconsistency is where one of their data are different. Even though all three are storing an address, when I ask your principal the address, she might give a different answer. Security guard, if I ask, he might give a different answer. And principal might give a different answer. Tell me, I will clear about the terms difference between redundancy and inconsistency now. So redundancy is it's storing in multiple places. But inconsistency is where that stored places have different values. Is that clear, all of you? Yes or no? And Mariam and Afra, I will clear about the doubt. Mariam got it? But difference between data duplication and data redundancy. Data duplication is the same. table. Now, for example, let's say I have what do you call I have a table called students table. In the students table, let's say I have recorded your details. Okay, your name, your address, your contact number. Again, I have recorded your name, address, contact number. That is what data duplication is. So data duplication is in the same table. But data redundancy is where your name, let's say your contact, one of your data, or it can be many data as well. I'm storing in table one, I'm storing in table two, I'm storing in table three. See, the same data is stored in multiple places, in different places. But duplication, the same place, it's multiple times. Got the idea? The difference between duplication and redundancy. Okay. Anyone else having any other questions? If there's any questions, drop in the chat. Next. What is the relationship between the two tables? Okay. What is the relationship between these two tables? All of you. It's what are your answers. What is the relationship between these two tables? Let's check. Normally, I told you all to check the relationship. You have to first of all mention the two tables' name. So I'm going to mention your students table, and the other table we have is marks table, right? Then I told you all after you're done writing two tables' name, always check one record in the students table. It can be connected to how many records in the marks table. Now, for example, if I take Meena as example, okay, the student called Meena, respective to her, how many datas are there in the marks table? One or many? We take one student, example Meena. How many datas respected to her are there in the marks table? Only one data is available or many data is available? Yes. If you look at the marks table, you can see the first record is there, right? The first record is respective to Meena. You can see this first record that's connected to Meena. Apart from that, if you take the second, third, fourth, these are also connected to Meena. Okay. Even if you take like even apart from Meena, if you take even Sandun, you can see the third record is respected to Sandun as well as the fifth record is also connected to Sandun. So tell me, if you take one student in the mark students table, a respected student, okay, respected to this one student, how many records are there in the marks table? Only one, or are there many? One record in the marks students table, it can be connected to how many records in the marks table? Exactly, many. Perfect. Now you can't stop from here. You have to check the backwards as well. If I take one record in the marks table, for example, let me take this. Let me take the first record. Okay, the first record in the marks table. If I take this as an example, it can be connected to how many records in the students table? One or many? If I take one record in the marks table, that can be connected to how many records in the students table? One or many? Exactly. That can be connected to only one student. Tell me that record which I mentioned here, that can be connected to which student? To which student can I connect that record? What is the name of that student? To whom can I connect this record to? Exactly. I can connect that record only to Meena. I can connect that record only. So once you do this, once you find here these two things, then you make the conclusion. One and one means one, one and n means many. Okay, always keep in mind only if both are one, you write one. If there's m, then directly write m. Okay. So if you take this table, it has a one to many relationship. This is how I figure it out. Tell me, are you clear about how you figure out relationship between tables? Yes or no? Okay. So I'm going to mention that the answer there is one to many relationship. One to many relationship. How to compare when there are more than two tables? Always they'll ask you between which table. Now here they have mentioned one relationship between the two tables. Always they'll ask you between which table are they referring to. Okay. So here they are referring because they're showing two tables, only two tables are available. But if there's more than two tables, then they'll ask you, okay, the relationship between students table and subject table. Or they'll be asking the relationship between the marks table and subject table, something like that. Okay. So depending on the question, you decide. Got it? Normally, when you see like three tables, always there will be one table connecting two tables. We have done that question somewhere. I think the last second term paper discussion that was there. Anyways, so you can put here the marks as last week I gave you the mark of the first question. So what you call half marks each. Then the second question you can mention what you called suitable foreign key. So for the second question, so for primary key. For the second question, you can mention again what you call one mark each. For admission number, one mark, and the marks table, this one mark. They're asking only for a primary key. So if you are mentioned only one answer there. So if you mention either one of them, you get 2 marks there. Roman number 3, they're asking foreign key, no. So foreign key, 1 mark. And Roman number 4, marks table, 1 mark. Updating this like this, 1 mark. And Roman number 5, for telling about data duplication, 1 mark. Data redundancy, 1 mark. And for Roman number 6, again 1 mark. So you'll get a total of half plus half 1, 1.5, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Now tell me out of 10 marks, how much did you get? Nara, which one? The relationship between tables. Always what you do is when you want to find relationship between tables, write the two tables name like this. Okay. And you take one record in the table. For example, I'm going to take here one record in the students table, the first record about Meena. Okay. Now I'm going to see how many records relevant to Meena or how many data is relevant to like how many records relevant to Meena are there in the marks table. Now, what is the field connecting these two tables? It's the admission number field, right? You can see students table also have admission number, marks table also has admission number. That's the field that's connecting these two tables now. So I'll be comparing by referring that only. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see respective to Meena, how many records are there. Now you can see Meena's admission number is 11150. So I have the first record relevant to Meena as well as the fourth record is also relevant to Meena. So keep in mind, if there's only one record respective, you put one. But if there are many records connectable, then you put as many. Tell me, are you clear about this part? That one record in the students table, it can be connected to many records in the marks table. Is that clear? I took it Meena as an example. Okay, then you do the reverse as well. You can't stop there. Check the other side as well. That is, you're going to take one record in the marks table and see this can be connected to how many students. For example, I took the first record. The first record can be connected to which and which student. What are students you can connect this to? Only 11150, right? So who is at 11150? It is Meena, right? So that's why I said one record in the marks table that can be connected to only one record in the students table. Is that clear? Similarly, if you take the second record, this can be connected only to what do you call Sanul. The third record, this can be connected only to Devi. Fourth record, this can be connected only to Meena. This can be recorded the next one. Likewise, you figure out the relationship. And once that is done, then you do the conclusion like this. So 1 and 1 is 1. If there's 1 and M, you put the M. Just like how the OR gate works. Sorry, AND gate works. Okay, perfect. Anyone? Okay. Others, tell me your marks through the chat. How much marks you got for this question in total? Out of 10. Out of 10. How much marks you all get for this? This was a question we gave last week. So first time, Roman number 1, not last week, the week before the last. So Roman number 1 and 2, we have already done. Drop your marks in the chat. Let's check. Okay, good. Okay, now others, you all can start doing this. I'm going to give you all 5 minutes for this question. Quick. I'm going to discuss this question at. This question is incomplete here. Here they are talking about pseudocode to this flowchart, right? The corresponding pseudocode to this should be flowchart. So I'm going to give you all 5 minutes. Now the time is 6:38, 6:39, 6:40, 6:43. I'm going to discuss at 6:43. Quick. I hope all of you all know. Okay, I have already told you all to maintain a separate writing book for the paper glass. Do we get cutes? No, because then you all will be doing the question early itself, or you all might find the answer early itself. So this is where you do the questions in the class. That's why I'm not giving. Nothing. I don't have any issues in giving. So when you're doing the question, you can write what I had written in dark black. So what this paper is about. You can mention 2018 Western Province grade 11 second term test part 2 question number 4. You can mention like that. But yeah, quick others. You'll have 40, sorry, 3 minutes more. Yes, yeah, yeah. Those are done. You can raise your hands in the participants list. Those are done with this question. Raise your hands in the participants list. And others, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. Nope. Input is the things that you have to ask the user to enter. Are you asking the user to enter that Rishad there? You'll have 1 more minute, quick. Okay, 6:43. Do any of you all want 2 minutes more time, or shall I start the discussion? Should I start, or you want time? Okay, I'm gonna begin the discussion. Let's check your answer. Tudun, 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 tudun. Following is a flowchart designed for certain task. Find the output of this flowchart. I always told you whenever you get programming questions, when they ask the output, easiest method is to draw the dry run. Okay. So what I'm going to do is first of all see what are the variables used. Tell me in a program, variables are used for what? If you take a program, what is the purpose of a variable? Exactly. The main purpose of a variable is to store values temporarily. Perfect. Look at this program and see, are there any, what do you call, identifiers they are using to store values like that? Yes. See, there's a value called x. X is storing a value. Apart from x, are there any other variables used? No. Apart from x, there is no other variables. Okay. Second, you mentioned the conditions, or else, yeah, the conditions. So you can see there is a condition checking, is x greater than 15. Apart from the condition checking, is x greater than 15, are there any other conditions here? No. Apart from that, there is no other conditions. Always conditions are like questions. When I ask you a question, you have to have only two answers: yes or no, right? True or false. That's what a condition is. A condition will always give you yes or no. A condition will not give anything else, right? So you can see there's only one condition: is x greater than 15. So your answer will be either yes or your answer will be no. You can't have any other answers for conditions. So you write all the conditions that you have. And then, does this program have any outputs? Yes. If there is an outputs, what you can do is you can have a common column for the output. Okay. We don't have to have separate columns for each output. We can have a common column for all the outputs. Now what you're going to do is you're going to fill this. So we call this as something as dry run. The purpose of a dry run is to see how the program is running, how the program is functioning. Okay. So we are going to fill this dry run by referring for the flowchart. Okay. So start, there is nothing to do. X equals 20. So what we are meaning by here is we are going to give the value 20. So 21. We're going to assign the value 21 to the variable X. So I'm going to go and write here 21. Okay. So X is going to be 21. Next they have mentioned is X greater than 15. Okay. Look at the table. In the table, you will always check the latest value. Huh? Check at the, now we have only one value here. So there is nothing called latest and old. Look at the value of X and tell me, is it greater than 15? Yes or no? Yes, the value of X, you can see it is greater than 15. If someone comes and asks you, is 21 greater than 15? What's going to be your answer? Yes or no? Yes, right? Exactly. So your answer is going to be here. Yes. Okay. Next. Then if it is yes, what you're going to do is you're going to follow the direction that's mentioned using a yes. You can see here. For yes, they are told to go toward this direction. So there they have mentioned x equals x minus 3. What do you mean by that sentence is they're saying the value of x is going to be, okay, the new value of x is going to be equal to the current value of x. So when you say x equals x minus 3, what we're saying is new value is going to be equal to current value of x minus 3. Okay. So the current value of x is 21 and 21 minus 3 is going to give you a new value. Now based on that, tell me what's going to be the new value of x? What's going to be the new value of x? Exactly. When you say x equals x minus 3, we're saying the new value of x is going to be current value of x minus 3. 21 minus 3 is going to give you 18. So I'm going to mention here as 18. Up to that, tell me all of you. Yes or no? Okay. When you again go through this program to the next instruction, you can see again it's coming back to this question saying is x greater than 15? Okay. Now look at the latest value of x and tell me is the value of x greater than 15? Yes, it is greater than 15. So again, I'm going to go towards the right hand side. Now, based on that, tell me now what is going to be the latest, what is going to be the updated value of x now? After I execute this statement, what's going to be the value of x now? Perfect. It's going to be now 15 because x minus 3 is 18 minus 3. That's going to give 15. Then I go for the next instruction. Again to check is x greater than 15. Now tell me if I check if it's if x is greater than 15, is it going to give me true or is it going to give me false? Exactly. That's going to give me false, right? Like for example, imagine I have 15 chocolates. You also have 15 chocolates. If I come and ask, if I come and tell you I have more than you, do I have more than you? No. Do I have less than you? No. Then I have what actually? What is the correct term I have to use there? Exactly. I have to use the term equal. So if this condition is checking, do I have equal? Then yes. But here we are checking, is it greater? Do I have more than you? Is x more than 15? So if we go and check, is x more than 15? No. That's why I mentioned yes, no. So because it is no, now I'm going to go towards the downwards direction. There we have a statement called print x. Look at the table and tell me what is the latest value of x now. X is 15. So what is going to get printed? What is the value that's going to get printed? 50 is going to get printed. So output of this program is going to be 15. Tell me, are you all clear on how I figure out the answer that 15 is the output of this program? Yes or no? Anyone having any questions there? Okay. The next question is saying write the corresponding pseudocode in the flow, corresponding pseudocode to this flow chart. So first thing start, you write there is begin. Then we have here as x equals 21. So directly I'm going to mention that was x equals 21. Then we have is x greater than 15. So I'll be like, but you can see, now tell me, is this condition a selection statement or is it a repetition statement? Look at this condition and tell me, is this a selection statement or a repetition statement? Yes, that's a chance. This is actually a repetition. It's very easy to figure out, is it a repetition or selection? Listen carefully, okay? If it is a repetition, okay, if it is a repetition, there will be either two inwards arrow, okay? If it's a repetition, there will be either two inward arrow, two or more, okay? It can be two or more than two inward arrow. But if it's a selection, there will be only one inward arrow. What I mean by that is, you can see here there are two types of arrows. One arrow is showing that we're going to come to this statement. See, we're coming here. One arrow is showing we're going. So inward means coming. Okay. You can see this is also showing it's coming. This is also showing it's coming there. Okay. So if there's two ways we can come here. Okay. If you're going to come in these two ways, it's like a repetition. Okay. You can see the statement, this condition is again and again being checked. But if it was a selection statement, there will be only one inward arrow. For example, it might be something like this. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. It can be something like this. You will not be again coming and checking this condition. Only once this condition is being checked. So if a condition is being checked only once, it's a selection. More than once, it's a repetition. Tell me, are you clear about that? Yes or no? Okay. Now, we found out it's repetition. When we were learning pseudocode flowchart, we mainly learn two types of repetition. One is a while loop and one is a repeat until loop. Can we mention calculate x equals 20? Yes, you can, but unnecessary. No, you can't mention because there is no calculation there, right? If there was if here even fine. If you mention here the word calculate, fine. Because there is like it makes sense. But if you say x equals 20, calculate x equals 20, that doesn't make sense. Again, it's not wrong because pseudocode flowchart does not have a strict rule in certain places. But yeah, don't need. Enter come in front. X is not a. This is not an input. This is not an input. In what are inputs in a program? Inputs are the things you're going to ask the user to enter. Keep in mind, if you take a program, if the user is going to enter anything for the program, that's an input. If the program is going to give anything for the user, that's output. If there's something that's going to happen within the program is itself going to give a value. The program itself is going to make a decision. That's going to be a process. So you can say x equals 20 is a value assigned by the program. It is not a value we are asking the user to enter. Keep in mind, the programmer is not a user. Here you're a program. You're not a user here. When you run the program, that is where the users are going to deal with. Users are going to be deal with the program that is getting run. So whenever the user has to enter value, if the user is going to enter value, that's an input. This x equals 21 is not the user's input entered value. It's a program defined value. It's a value that's defined in the program itself. So that's going to be a process. Clear, all of you? So the x is not an input, x here is a process. I mean, x equals 20 here is a process. Then you can see here, we have repetition. There are two things. One is a while loop and one is a repeat and a loop. Now, some of you might be confused. How do you decide is it a while loop or repeat and a loop? Normally, in a while loop, keep in mind the condition is checked first. In a repeat and a loop, condition is checked last. Okay, what I mean by condition is checked last means after you repeat the instructions, you're going to check the condition. But while loop, you check the condition and only if it's true, you're going to repeat. Now look at this program and tell me, based on that idea, is it a while loop or is it a repeat until loop? Exactly. It's a while loop. See, first I'm checking the condition. Only if the condition is true, I'm going to repeat certain instructions. So I'm going to mention here, while x is less than x is greater than 15, do. I'm asking do this below task. So first thing I'm asking you to do is to tell x is going to be equal to x minus 3. Apart from that, you can see there is no other instructions. Again, we're going to come and check the condition. So you're in the while loops here. I'm going to mention end while. And then once the loop is ended, you can see when the condition gives you false, you're going to print x. So after the loop is done, I'm going to display the value of x. You can mention a display or you can mention any other synonyms as well. Display, print, show, any synonym is fine. Display x. And then the program stops. So I'm going to mention here as end. Tell me, are you all clear on how I wrote this pseudocode here? Yes or no? How many of you got the pseudocode correct? Raise your hands in the participant list. Let's check. Good job. Anyone have any questions here? So you can break the marks here as, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 marks. Yes, you can put 2 marks for this 15 and 2 marks for getting the pseudocode exactly correct. Tell me out of 4 marks, how much did you get? Can you explain the World Trade Center? World Trade Center is while true, continue. While true, continue. World Trade Center. While true, continue. So while loop will continue only if the condition is true. See, only if the condition is true, we are going to execute this loop. So this x equals x minus 3 is that will execute or will follow that instruction only if this condition is true. So while true, continue. What is just okay, perfect. Anyone having any other questions? We can identify its while loop by the truth table also. I did like that. I mean, the easiest way you can identify its while loop is if the condition, if you're going to check the condition first, and only if the condition is true, if you're going to execute. But the idea is very simple. If condition is first, keep in mind its while loop. Condition is check last, it's a repeater loop. That's the base idea. It's how you normally define it, figure it out. Okay, fine. I'm going to give you all actually give you time to pray as well. It's 6:58. I'll give you all time to pray plus do this question. So basically, 7, 7, 5, 7, 10. So 3, 6 minutes. And then at 7, at 7:10, I'm going to discuss. If you're not done by 7:10, I'll drag until 7:15. Okay. So you all can pray and come and do this question. I'll be discussing at 7:10. Those who are not praying, you all can directly start doing this question now itself. Those you all can pray and quickly come. At 7:10, I'm going to discuss this question. Quickly do it. I'll also go and pray and come. If you have any questions, just drop in the chat. I'll come and check. I hope you are doing this question. Those who are done with the question, you all can raise your hands in the participants list. 'If you come across any questions while doing this, let me know that through the chat. If you have any issues or anything, let me know. 3 minutes more. 2 minutes more. Is there anyone of you all who wants more time to do this question? Let me know through the chat. Is there anyone of you all who wants a bit more time to do this question? How many more minutes? 3 minutes. Okay, I'll give you 3 more minutes. At 7:13 sharp, I'll be discussing this question. Others, I hope you are doing this question. Don't just straight staring at the screen. Okay. Once you're done, if you have completed this question, okay, you can raise your hands in the participants list. I think only four of you all have done. Shlakmi, Yahya, Jatushant, Afra, and then Shafa, and then Varda, Ahmed, Lamha, Mariam, Afra, Zaid, Zara. Quick, quick, quick. 3 minutes more. Okay, time up. I'm going to start the discussion. Following is a Pascal program which written broken English. Too much of broken English in this paper. Which is written or which was written should be okay. Which is written to display whether a given number is a multiple of seven or not. Not multiples. Multiple. I'm like an English teacher in this paper, man. If this person who made the paper got caught to me, I mean, I'll be like the first English teacher for them. Anyways, fine. Program multiples. So basically, when you read that statement, you will understand the purpose of this program. That is basically you're going to check. You're going to ask whether given number. So you're going to ask the user to enter a number, and you're going to check is that number a multiple of seven or not. Okay, whether that number is a multiple of seven or not. Fine. So we have the name of the program as multiples, and you have two. You can see there are two variables being used. One is called n. The data type is integer, and there's another table, another what do you call variable called result, and it's in the form of a string. So you're saying write ln enter number. So you're asking the user to enter the number, and then read ln n. So you're going to store the number entered inside the variable called as n. Okay. And while n is greater than or equal to 7, so if the value of n is greater or equal to 7, then what you're going to do is, okay, only the number is greater than 7, you're going to do it. If it's less than 7, you're not going to think of it. Okay. So if it's greater than or equal to 7, what you're going to do is, you're going to first of all check if n mod 7 equals 0. What do you mean by mod is basically something like this. N mod 7 means you're going to divide the value of the number entered. So let's say the number entered was 13. So n mod 7 means let's say 13 mod 7. What do you mean by this is divide 13 by 7 and check the remainder. So 7 times 1 is 7 and 6 remains, right? So 6, 6, 12, 13. Yeah. So if I say 7 mod 7, I'm referring to this remainder. And if I say 7 div 7, I'm referring to this quotient. Okay. So keep in mind 13 mod 7 is going to be equal to 6 and 13 div 7 is going to be equal to 1. First of all, tell me, I will clear about mod and div all of you. Yes or no? Okay. So result is equal to multiple of 7. So you can see here, if the remainder is 0, that means a multiple of 7. No? So we are going to mention a multiple of 7. Else what we are going to do is we are going to mention that result is going to be equal to not a multiple of 7. That's also fine. So if the remainder is 0, you're going to say it's a multiple of 7. Not a multiple of 7. Okay, cool. Write ln n is result. So you're going to mention the number entered is multiple of 7. Or number entered is not a multiple of 7. That's going to be displayed here. The status is going to be displayed here. That's also fine. After we display a number, okay, after we display a number, you're asking the user to enter another number again, right? After you ask the user to enter another number, you're going to store that number in the variable n again. Fine. Now you can see here, this whole thing is going to repeat again and again and again until the value of n is when? A quick question for you all before I ask that. Okay. If you take this program, they have used here a loop. What is the loop they have used here? Is it a while loop or repeat until loop? Exactly. You can see they have used a while loop. Now tell me, while loop will continue. Okay, while loop will continue when the condition is true or when the condition is false. Exactly. When the condition is true. I always thought you all to remember about the World Trade Center. While true, continue. The while loop, the condition is true, it's going to continue. So based on that, tell me, in which situation will the while loop gives you false? In which situation will the while loop gives you false? So in which situation while loop will stop? While loop will continue if it's true, no? So while loop will stop in which situation? While loop will continue when the condition is true. So while loop will stop when the condition is exactly condition is false. Okay. Now tell me, if I want to make this condition false, that is n greater than or equal to 7 is a condition. If I want to make that condition is false, what should happen? Sulakmi correct? Yahya correct? Others? Muhammad Ishad correct? Mariam correct? Marishabir correct? Shafa correct? Natali correct? Others? For that condition to be false, what should happen? Exactly. For that condition to be false, what should happen? The value of n should be less than 7, right? If the value is equal to 7, it will be true. If the value is greater than 7, again it will be true. But this will give false when? Only when the value of n is less than 7. If the value of n less than 7, it's going to give false. So if you want this loop to terminate means stop. Okay, the word terminate means stop. If you want this loop to stop, the repetition to stop, what should happen is the number, okay, a number less than 7 has to be entered. A number less than 7 has to be entered. Tell me, is that clear, all of you? Okay, Majid, just drop me a WhatsApp message. So let you know. Anyone having any doubts there? Is there enough of you who don't understand that? Okay, so keep in mind, while loop, always keep in mind about the World Trade Center. While true, continue. So if you want to stop the condition, the while has to be false. Okay, so I was figuring out in which situation will this condition be false. It will be false when the value entered. So n is the value entered, no? When the number entered is less than 7. So that's why I mentioned there a number less than 7 has to be entered. Okay, so if a number less than 7 has to be entered, the loop will stop. Right. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. I'm going for the next one. Huh? What is the output when enter 15 as input? Okay. When you enter 15 as input, let's say 15 is entered here as input. So n is going to be 15. You're going to check is 15 greater than or equal to 7. Will this give it true or false? That's going to give me true. Perfect. Then you're going to check if n mod 7 equals 0. Now tell me what will be the value of 15 mod 7. So n here is 15. No? what will be the value of 15 mod 7? Take 15, divide by 7. 7 times 2 is 14, 1 remains. So 15 mod 7 is how much? It's going to be 1. So you're going to check here if 15 mod 7 equals 0. So based on that, tell me, will this condition give you true or will this condition gives you false? That condition is going to give you false. If that condition gives you false, then tell me what will be the result? Multiple of 7 or not a multiple of 7? Exactly. If that condition is going to give you false, then you're going to go for the else part where the result is going to be not a multiple of 7. Then write till n is result. Now n here is basically 15 and you have this text called is, so 15 is, and the value of result variable is going to be what? Not a multiple of 7. So 15 is not a multiple of 7. This is going to be the output. Again, the program is not going to end with that. The program is going to repeat again. But the first output you're going to get there is 15 is not a multiple of 7. Before I go for the next part, I just want to, before I continue, what do you call this as? Joining the value of variable, string, variable. Basically, you're going to join multiple values together. What do you call that as? When I was teaching, I gave a word for that. Should writing 15 is a must? Because they have mentioned here, n is result. They have done something. What have they done here? Exactly. They have done something called as concatenation here. Concatenation is where you join multiple values together. Okay. In different programming language, the way you do concatenation varies. Here you can see write till an n comma is comma result. So what they're saying is that you take the value of n. So here value of n is what? 15. And they're asking us to join that with is result. Actually, if you do, it'll become something like 15 is, okay, you're going to join the letter n, then comma is. So is going to get joined, and the value of result variable. So result variable has as not a multiple of 7. So what it's doing here is it's joining these three values together, multiple of 7. Okay. So in this, if you take this n is there, 15 is there. This is basically the value of the variable n. The not a multiple of 7 is that this is the value of the variable result. And what's happening there is it's joining the value of the n variable is text and the result variable together. That's what you call as a concatenation. Is that clear all of you? Yes or no? Okay, so result is going to be there as 15 is not a multiple of 7. Next, draw the flow chart which is based to write this program. So let's draw the flow chart. You can see the first instruction we have here is enter number. So I'm going to start the flow chart with begin. Okay, let me use this space. Let's use this space. And what I'm going to do here is always you start the flowchart with the word start. Then first instruction we have is enter number. So I'm going to mention here. You can break this in two instructions: enter display enter number, and then assign store the number entered as in. You can write anything you want. Okay, but if I'm going to like come a bit closer for this program, I can write here enter number as n. Enter a number. This is one way of writing pseudocode. Enter a number as n. So what we are meaning here is we are asking to enter a number and we're going to consider that number as n. That's what you mean by this sentence. Okay. So if it's an input statement, you're going to mention that inside a parallelogram. Again, you can break this, you can write it in one statement directly as well. Input number killer, you can directly mention, or input n killer, you can directly mention. Or you can break in two instruction, display enter number, and second one, assign the number entered inside variable n killer, you can break it as well. Not compulsory. But yeah, I'm going to mention enter number as n. Then while n is greater or equal to 7. So I'm going to check here, is the value of n greater or equal to 7. So I'm going to check is n greater or equal 7. If it is true, if this condition is true, I'm saying here, if n mod 7 equals 0. So there's another condition I'm going to check. That is checking if n mod 7 equals 0. Okay, if n mod 7 equals 0, I'm going to mention here yes, and result is going to be equal to multiple of 7. If it's no, then I'm going to mention result is equal to not a multiple of 7. Result is going to be equal to not a multiple of 7. Again, it's a process, so I'm going to draw it as a rectangle. The next instruction we have there is write a len, n is result. So for both, it's going to be common. So I'm going to say display n plus is plus result. Normally, we're not doing concatenation in what you call the pseudocode. We use a plus symbol. Again, not strict. You can use comma as well. So n is result, and then enter number again. So I'm going to write that here. Enter number, and then check that condition again and again. So if this condition gives you false, you're going to stop the program. My flowchart is very ugly, okay, but still this is how the flowchart is going to happen. You're first of all asking the user to enter a number. Then you're going to check is a number greater than or equal to 7. If it is not greater or equal, the program gets terminated. But if it is greater or equal, you're going to check if the remainder is 0. Indirectly, what we're doing is we are checking is it a multiple of 7. If it is, we're going to mention it's a multiple of 7. Else, we're going to mention the result is going to be not a multiple of 7. And you're going to display here the result saying n is a multiple of 7. N is and the result. Okay. So what you're doing here in that statement is a concatenation. Once you're done, again, you're going to ask the user to go and enter a number, which means a repetition is going to happen there. Anyways, look at this program and tell me, are you clear of my flowchart as well? Yes or no? Do you understand? Fun fact, this is the first time I'm doing this question. I don't think that I normally do the question, then come and do the class. So you all can see how I process the question as well. I'm just reading step by step. You can see what I'm doing. And I want you all to replicate that process. It's not about getting, again, I tell you all, here the purpose of a paper class is not the fact about you're getting the answer correct or getting the answer wrong. Because again, you all can refer past, you all can just refer the marking scheme, you all can go and ask Google or you all can go and ask senior someone. You can figure out the answer. Just getting the answer is not the fact here. It is a process of how you find the answer. That is what is going to improve your thinking capacity. Now, if someone of if all of I mean, how many of you all got this first question correct? If you all got this first question correct, that shows that you are thinking capacity. If you did it alone, if you had went through the program and got that question correct, that shows your thinking capacity is working. Why? You saw step by step. You were thinking. You asked your mind. You asked your brain. Okay, when will this program stop? Then something came and clicked in your mind. We have used while loop here. While loop will continue only if the condition is true. So we have to figure out when will this condition give you false. Then you ask yourself, all right, when in which situation will this condition give you false? Then you ask, okay, if only is greater, it's going to be true. No? So less than means it's going to be false. No, killer. That process of thinking is there. That is what will improve your knowledge, not only in IT, any subject. So always don't think of spending time for thinking. I mean, don't think that okay, am I spending too much time to think? Don't think about that. As much as possible, try spending time on thinking. Getting the final answer is not the fact. Okay, I had some, I used to have very bad habit when I was doing my, like certain degree, our assignments. What I do is I do the assignment, I don't submit it. That's a different story. Okay, but the purpose there is the reason is completely different. Okay, I'm not asking you all to do that. Never follow what I am doing in certain stupid stuffs I do. But the fact that I want to tell you all is, doing questions, always look at how I'm doing this question, how I'm going reading this question, how am I, what is the first step I'm doing when answering the question, see what are the facts I'm writing, scribbling. These are the things that you have to see. And then, what do you call, replicate it. Nathang, what do you call, it will be very difficult for you all to handle programming questions. Anyways, what do you call, so yeah, with that we're done for the day. Anyone having any questions regarding what we learned today? So the marks you all can give is again 2 marks each. So basically that's going to be 2 marks for the first one, 2 marks for the second one, and 2 marks for the flow chart. How many marks do you all get in total out of 10? Ade Majid, don't use that, man. Instead of writing n mod 7 equals 0, can I write is remainder equal to 0? Normally in a flowchart you can, not a big deal, but it's better to mention in the flowchart of how you can obtain that as well. I mean, mentioning is remainder equals 0 is fine, it's not a problem. Okay, but depending on who's marking your paper, it can change. Better write the process as well. Like for example, it's better if you can write the mod part as well, the model. So in the Pascal program, you don't say n is result. Instead, you put the commas. Is it? If you are here, what happens here is we're not joining the values. I mean, technically, what you're doing here is here. If you want, if in Pascal, if you want to join the values, for example, if you want to tell something, like, if you want to tell, for example, let's say you want to keep a variable called a result, and let's say the word result is going to have that, then you have to use plus actually. So result is going to be equal to n plus is plus, what do you call num, let's say, and let's say hello, whatever, blah blah blah. Okay, if you're going to assign it to a variable, then normally we use plus. But if you're going to use a display statement, like for example write or as write ln, then we normally mention comma separate values. It depends on the purpose. Again, that is not a big deal. Even if you put comma in pseudocode flowchart, not a big deal. Pseudocode and flowchart, there is no strict rules to be followed, because pseudocode and flowchart are going to be used by whom? They're going to be used by programmers. So because they're going to be referenced by programmers, as long as it is in an understandable pattern. For example, now that's why I'm saying avoid using that is remainder equals 0. Better if you can mention how do you find. So again, that doesn't mean it's wrong, but I'm saying to be in a safe side. So if you want, you can mention a comma as well. But again, it's better if you can mention plus in flowchart. Got it, Sarah? I did maths, ICT, and physics. I mean, combined maths, ICT, and physics. Yeah, so with the way done. If you have any questions, you can stay and ask. Others, if you don't have any questions, you can leave. Anyone having any questions? Hey, by the way, make sure all of you are there inside that WhatsApp community. If there's anyone of you all who is not in that community, because that's where I normally put the link and any other resources like recordings, all those stuffs. So if there's anyone who is not there in the records community, just click on this link and join that community. Anyways, anyone having any questions? If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. Others, if I don't have any questions, yes, you're free to leave. Yes, Dear Majid. But why there's two condition? The first condition is to control the loop. That's along with the while loop. So always with the while repeat until along the loop, there's a condition. The second condition is selection statement. You can see if no, when you use the word if, it's always a selection statement. So you can see this is a selection statement, and this is a what do you call a repetition. So you can come across condition along with a selection statement or a repetition statement. So we're not checking to whether the continuous loop or not. You're going to check this condition, huh? The one that you have with the repetition. Did I answer a question or is your question something else? Okay. So as there's no other questions, I'm going to end the meeting. But again, if there's any questions, feel free to WhatsApp me and get things clarified. So yeah, have a nice day. Bye bye.